Hi there, time for class project. In last lesson, you learned about how to make a background blur of an image and how to keep the subject transparent. So, right now you have to apply your skill you learned about making background blur. So, in this class project, you have to make a background blur of an image. So here is my class project output. So you have to do the same things. You have to make a background blur of an image and you have to keep the subject transparent. You can take a look. We have our subject transparent and we got the blur background. So this is your class project, or you can consider this class project as homework. So let's take a look on our PDF file, because PDF file will help us to complete the class project. Okay, here is our class project 7 and the name of the class project is image background blur. So let's follow the step. So at first we have to go for image. Use image from exercise file, or you can use your own created image, or you can use unsplash.com. Okay, this is the image I used for class project 7, and if you want to use this image for class project 7, then you can have it from our exercise file, because I already given this image inside the exercise file. So you can use this image, or you can use your own image, or you can get some royalty free image from unsplash.com. But I prefer if you use your own image, that will be really awesome. So you can try with your own image. Okay, the next step is duplicate layer. Duplicate background layer in layer panel. Okay, this is our layer panel and here is the background layer. So you have to duplicate this background layer, and the next step is selection. Select the new layer and use quick selection tool and make a selection of subject. So let's take a look on Adobe Photoshop. Okay, you have to select the new layer which is duplicated from background layer, and then you have to use this quick selection tool. So here is the quick selection tool, and using the quick selection tool you have to make a perfect selection of subject. You can take a look. In here we have 4 subject and you have to make a perfect selection using quick selection tool. And if you can make a perfect selection, then you can have a perfect blur background. So you have to focus on selection of subject. Okay, the next step is add layer mask. After selection, create a layer mask of subject. Okay, once you will complete make a selection for subject, then you have to add a layer mask, and here is the option for add a layer mask, and you have to add a layer mask with the selection of subject. So what is our next step? The next step is convert for smart filters. Select the layer mask in layer panel, then go for filter menu and click on convert for smart filters. Okay, once you will add layer mask, then you have to select the layer mask and then you have to go for filter menu. Here is the filter menu, and then you have to go for convert for smart filters option. Okay, the next part is rename layer. Rename converted layer as mask. Okay, once you will click on filter menu and once you will convert that layer into smart filter, then you have to rename the layer name and you have to rename the layer as mask. So here is my mask layer. Okay, the next step is blur filter. Select the background layer in layer panel, then go for filter menu and then blur option, and then go for Gaussian blur filter. So let's take a look on Adobe Photoshop. So this is the time for apply the Gaussian blur filter for making the background blur. But before apply the Gaussian blur filter, you don't have to select the mask layer. You have to make sure the background layer is selected. Once background layer is selected, then you have to go for filter menu, blur option, and from there you have to go for Gaussian blur. Okay, then set radius of Gaussian blur for 50 pixel or as you want. So for making background blur, you have to increase the radius, or you have to set the radius for 50 pixel. So let me show you. Here is the filter menu, here is the blur option, and here is the Gaussian blur. Okay, and you can take a look. Here is the radius and I placed 50 pixel. And if you want to make a light blur background, then you have to reduce the pixel of radius, and if you want to make a hard blur, then you have to increase the radius of pixel. Okay, so let me click OK, and the rate of blur depends the pixel of radius, so you have to set the proper radius. And if you want to make a hard blur background, then you have to increase the pixel of radius. If you want to make light background blur, then you have to decrease the pixel of radius. So the percentage of blur background depends totally on radius. And the final part is output. Save the image in JPEG format. Once you will have the perfect blur background, then you have to save your class project work, and the type should be JPEG format. And please do share your work, and I'm really excited to have a look how you will make your image background blur in class project. And let me show you my output in PDF file. Okay, you can take a look. Here is my output of class project, and I attached this background blur image with the PDF file. So please do share your work as well with me, and I want to take a look how you can make the background blur of your image.